How big is the company today?
We do between 40 and 50 million a year.
How did you start the business? Like if people are here and they're like, all right, cool, I want to start a commercial HVAC business. Like, what do I do?
Well,
What are some of those key moments that you felt like really changed your trajectory?
I can still remember the first $1 million project we ever.
You either have too many employees, not enough work, or you have too much work and not enough employees. Like, how do you balance that?
That's tough.
You guys are at 40 to 50 million right now. How do you get to 100 million?
The company made money, so everybody gets a share.
But is it based on percentage of salary or tenure, or like what's the formula?
We don't do the sexy stuff, but we do the stuff that everybody likes.
Martin Lowery and Thomas Mechanical. So it's a commercial HVAC company, right? Tell us about the business.
Okay, Thomas Mechanical, we're a 22-year-old business, so we've got a little age on us. I started it. We do primarily commercial HVAC. We also have a fire protection sprinkler division. So we don't do the sexy stuff, but we do the stuff that everybody likes. One, everybody likes to be warm and cool. So we're pretty popular in that.
Yeah, I was gonna say the trades are also super hot right now. I don't know if you guys are following, but like PE is all over the trades. Most of our customers are all getting hit up from PE trying to buy them. There's all these PE roll-ups that are basically buying like all these HVAC, plumbing, electrical companies and
Daily,
every day.
I get hit up daily, sometimes multiple times a day, to be exact. I get calls, I get emails, I get even text messages. They get my phone number and they blow it up. So you couldn't be more right on that. What I do is not real sexy, but it's one, it's profitable. It makes money, and that's what venture capital. We get hit up by private equity, and we do get hit up by some other companies that are looking to enter the market and want to grow that way by acquisition, and they already have a platform, and so they grow that way. So we get some of that too.
Cool. I'm gonna dive into. I want to learn about how you got into this and how you grew it. So first, how big is the company today? If you're comfortable sharing revenue, would love to hear that. Also, employee count.
It's privately owned. I own all of it right now.
You personally do?
I do. That's nice. So that may change. We've grown quite a bit in the last few years, and I'll get into that a little bit. But we do between 40 and 50 million a year. So we're not small, but we're not large. We'd like to grow it. We'd like to double the size in the next couple of years, and we think we can. We just won an award last month down in Colombia. We were awarded. We've sent in our information for this award several times, and we've been in the running, and this time we got close. We were named the 8th fastest growing business in South Carolina over the last 3 years. So that's awesome. We've really, 22, 23, 24, we shot to the bank. And so we really ramped it up hard.
What'd you ramp up though? So like, what happened the last 10 years that you weren't growing?
No, that's a good question, because there's what we feel like is the reason why we've grown like we have.
Yeah.
So I started this business with just me and a couple of guys that I hired. I grew up in this business, so I knew a little bit about it. I majored in mechanical engineering here at Clemson, so it's been in my family. My family had a mechanical contracting business. I worked for Train for a while as a sales engineer and did sales, so I learned a lot of the sales part of it from them. They have a great company to work for, Fortune 500 type company. So I got a little bit of that background, and then I decided to go out on my own, and it was the best thing I ever did. The thing I ever did was undercapitalized. That was tough. I bootstrapped it, and it was tough, but we got through it. And then, of course, '08 hit, and that was a kick in the rear end. But we got through that because we weren't highly leveraged, so we did fine, and we came out of that and shot up pretty good at 12. About 12, we took a pretty good jump, and then we kind of flattened out a little bit, and then we took another jump. But what happened was a few years ago, we'd outgrown our facility drastically, and I hired some really good people, Clemson grads, of course. Most of our people are Clemson grads. In our office, we are in the trade, so we have guys in the field that are just tradesmen. But we built a new facility. We built a really, really nice facility, and we located it on interstate. And where if we're not a retail business, the visualization of a business is important, and we found how important it was. We landed our largest project year before last. We did a big, of all things, a ramen noodle plant in Greenville, where they're making ramen noodles. I love ramen. They're not actually making them; they're about to start up. That plant's about 400 to 500,000 square feet, so it's a big building. And they're gonna make ramen noodles. That's awesome. So we do some of that sort of stuff. We don't do the sexy things, but I like to say we work at BMW. We just finished a project at Lockheed where they're making F-16s, and we do ramen noodles. So we kind of gotta, we go where they make the ultimate driving machine, and then we go across town and we work at the big facility that makes ramen noodles. It is, but that's kind of, we hired some really good people, and they just started driving processes. I know what you do is a lot about processes, and what we do, we are constantly working on processes, trying to get better. I had a meeting today. We've gone from a small group to a bigger group, and I'll never forget a few years ago, I came in and they said, "Hey, we think we need an HR manager. What do you think about that?" Well, I don't think much of that. HR is usually the
I don't like that.
likes HR. One of the best moves we ever made could help to help with the processes a lot and keep us straight. And then a year and a half ago, my vice president came to me and said, "We're just having a terrible time trying to hire people. It's been, you hear it on the news, so it's not a secret." And we tried headhunters, and not very successful on that. They'll tell you anything to place somebody. So I'm not a big headhunter fan. Even though I know some people in that business, I just don't like it. I got a stigma to it, I think. So we hired a person she's serving kind of a dual role, but she's our recruiter and she does our marketing. So if you go on,
And you're saying she was an unlock for the business?
yeah, she was a new hire. She was a new position, and it's been great. She's been with us for going on about a year and a half now, but yet fantastic. We had our marketing meeting this morning, as a matter of fact, or this afternoon. It was scheduled for this morning and changed this afternoon. And she's been great. So she does all of our social media stuff, but she also minds the Indeeds and all that of the world, trying to find people. We've got a guy coming in tomorrow that's flying in from Michigan that we're interviewing for a position. He wants to move down south like a lot of people do.
Yeah. Well, I have a quick question. Sorry to cut you off. I don't mean to dominate the conversation. No, I'll steer it back. So when you were going out on your own, you said you're undercapitalized. Yeah. Like, did you have a client? How did you start the business? Like, if people are here and they're like, "All right, cool, I want to start a commercial HVAC business," like, what do I do?
Well, the things that I did right and the things I did wrong, I can tell you the way I did it. One, I had expertise, so I knew what I was doing. I was not, just a green person. The other thing was I'm very driven. I'll knock on the door.
Yeah.
I will knock on the door. When you were talking about, you said you got yeses and all that.
Yeah.
In our world and what I do, I get a lot of no's. I put out a lot of proposals and they're no, I'm going to go to here. I'm going to go do this.
By the way, I just went out to fundraise like a month ago and I got 40 no's. Mm-hmm. And then it's like, you get the breakup text from the VC that's like, "Hey, it was so great meeting you, but like, I just not a good fit." And I'm like, oh. So yeah.
I'm used to no, and no's not a problem for me. But if I have an opportunity, I'm going to take it. And so when I started my company, I had a little bit of capital. I borrowed a little bit, not much. I'm very risk averse. The contracting world by definition is risk. Mm-hmm. It's not a big margin business, especially on the commercial side. You get into the residential side, the margins get a little bit higher, but the volumes get lower. So it kind of goes like that. But I think I was driven to go out and knock on doors. I knew some people. I knew a lot of people in the industry, and so I was able to kind of work my way through that. And I had some really good friends, some mentors. Mm-hmm. Mentors are important. They're very important. I think somebody you can call up and say, "Hey, this is what I got," and I still have that to this day.
Are there some key moments that you think, changed the trajectory of your business? Like, did you land some client that, like what are some of those key moments that you felt like to really change your trajectory?
That's a good question. So I can still remember the first $1 million project we ever had.
Mm-hmm.
And that was in like 2011. But before then, we'd gotten some that were several $100,000 here, several $100,000 there. So that was a moment I remember. I also remember the cash flow, and it was really, made me nervous, because big projects like that, when you're not that big, can hurt you real bad if they go in the wrong direction. So I can remember that. I can remember when we got our first project over $10 million. So those are memorable times that really stick in my mind.
Yeah. How do you balance, a lot of business owners, especially in the trades, there's such a balance between getting the work to come in and then having the right number of employees. You either have too many employees, not enough work, or you have too much work and not enough employees. Like, how do you balance that?
That's tough. We generally balance out the high side with, we do add some temporary workers. We try not to do too much of that because those temporary workers work for companies that cut into your margins.
Yeah.
So we want to kind of keep that to a minimum. But we try. It's hard to balance out, but we've done a pretty good job. We've been doing it long enough that we have times. We have had times where we've gotten a little bit slack. And you keep your good people on, even if they're not doing profitable work. We like to call that government work.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of work. It doesn't pay real well. That's what we call government work. So we end up doing that, and we find ways to make them work because we understand those people have bills to pay. Mm-hmm. They have families to feed. So we want to make sure we take care of them. So the balance is hard, but we also know that if we don't have people, we can't go after the larger projects. We're getting into the realm now where we get interviewed and we get questioned, and they want to know a lot of stuff, and they want to see financials and all that because the projects are getting so large.
And they're from like large, like Amazon type enterprises.
We work a lot for general contractors, but we're talking about $1 billion contractors. Mm-hmm. We're talking about general contractors that do north of $1 billion a year in revenue, which is huge.
Yeah.
They're in Clemson doing work around here. Several of the contractors you see around here are doing north of $1 billion in revenue, and that's big. And when they do that, they're tough, and they want to make sure a company like me mm-hmm. that's doing 40 to 50 can handle the work that they have. Yeah. Because we only have limited amount of resources. It's not like we can scale up and scale down real easy. So once we're taking these steps to scale up, we need to stay up there. Otherwise, we get into running into problems with working through overhead and all that. And so we have to stay there. So we need to continually generate. Now, if we wanted to stay in that range, we know that we've got the proper people in place to do that, but that's not our goal. My goal is to ramp it up some more. And, like you said, we'll see.
Yeah. Also, I'm definitely going to ask you about that because I'm very curious. I'm a B2B SaaS guy. What are some like software tools that you guys are using? Are you using like Procore? What do you use for CRM? Like, talk to me about some tools.
So we use Procore. I was on Procore just a little while ago.
I went to their conference last year, Groundbreak.
Good company. They might know what Procore is.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Procore is like a CRM for construction companies. It has all the biggest construction companies on it. These guys pay like $500,000 a year in annual subscriptions. Like, whenever I think of like companies like this, big construction companies, think about what can you sell these guys? What are they paying for? What's their software stack that they're using to manage their business? And also, are there inefficiencies that you could potentially build something for? Because these guys have the money to spend if you can show the value in certain things. So a lot of these guys are using Procore, which is monstrous. It might be overkill. So there might be an opportunity for like a smaller point solution. But yeah, I'm curious. So anyway, it's a CRM platform, kind of like a Salesforce, but for the trades, for construction.
Yeah, so we use Procore. That's our platform for communicating with not only our customers but with our field. Mm-hmm. So it's an all-encompassing that it goes everywhere, and it can even go down to the supplier level. So, and we do that some. We've got a project right now where we've got some of our suppliers on the Procore. So we use Procore for our HR side. We use Paylocity.
Paylocity, okay.
We y'all know what Paylocity is. You probably seen it before. They advertise and all that. It's a platform for everybody clocking in, clocking out, and taking care of all HR functions. It's a good program. Good platform. We've had it for a few years, and then we're actually still on QuickBooks for our county. We've looked at some other ones, but we have to look at the cost to benefit ratio, and we're on the QuickBooks Enterprise, and it works pretty good. So we don't really have any intention to switch them out right now. And then we also have on our service side, because we do have a service department. It's growing fast. I've got a good service manager in place right now that's doing a great job, and we just switched over to Service Titan, which is a big
All of our customers are on most of our customers are on Service Titan.
So I'm using the stuff that most people use.
Yeah. Are you using any, there's this company, you guys might be interested in this. It's called Rilla. They do like AI, basically like it's like a ride along thing. You know how like there's all those AI takers? But it's basically like this like ride along software to basically like record, and maybe your guys don't need this. It records your people in the field to make sure they're saying the right things in their like sales scripts. And then it gives them feedback, almost like it's coaching software, using like the AI transcription.
We don't, but I will tell you this, on our service side, which is growing, which is traditionally in our business, that's a very good profit area. If it's run right, that's going to be our profit margin. That's going to be a better business. And so we're working on that side. I didn't personally come from that side. I'm a construction guy. I'm an engineer. I work on dealing with that side. So the service side is a totally different animal. But one of the things we're working on, we've got Service Titan running. We had another different program. We had Build Ops before that. Rollups is not it wasn't a good fit. So I'm not saying it's a bad program or anything. It just wasn't a good fit for us. But I think the next step will be trying to coach up our people a little bit more, that side, and work on the sales side. Right now, we do not have a service salesman on that side. That is one thing that we do have that we want to do. And that's in our future plans.
Awesome. So you guys are at 40 to 50 million right now. How do you get to 100 million?
We still believe in organic growth. Mm-hmm. We've not done any acquisitions. I don't think with the market like it is, because it's really frothy. You were talking about that. It's extremely frothy. I have several good friends. I had one that just recently called me up, and he said, I've sold. And he's a big electrical contractor in the upstate, and know him really well, and he got the number, and so he took it. And I know another very large plumbing contractor, and he sold out about 2 years ago, and he and I have sat down and talked quite a bit about all that. So it's you've got to look at a couple things. It's the size of your business, but when it comes down to it, they're still looking at multiples of EBITDA. So they're still going to look and see if you're profitable. It's not enough. It may be in certain industries, it may be enough for the volume. Mm-hmm. But in the services business, what we do, they're looking for return immediately. They're going to pay you a multiple of your EBITDA. Yeah. That's what they're looking. They might give you a little bit of a bump based upon some other metrics, growth potential, what your structure looks like, what you have in place, the processes. Are you going to be somebody that have to come in there and gut the management? Yeah. Do you have good management? Do you have good management? It does make a difference. So, and that's what we see. I'm not 60 yet, but I'm not ready to retire yet. But it does enter into my mind. It does what we're going to do for succession.
So what I've seen also is that like the smaller companies get a lower multiple. You almost get paid a reward for a higher multiple for having like the 40 to 50 million. So what I've seen, especially in like plumbing and HVAC, they're getting like 3 to 5x cash flow. So if you cash flow like 3 million, you could sell it for like 10 million or something like that. But once you pass like 15, 20 million, the multiple flips to like 15x, 20x.
That's correct.
So you're already in that top tier multiple.
Yeah, it's amazing they pay that much more on size.
Because if you think about it, they have to do all the work of or like rolling up all these little guys, so they're essentially getting rewarded.
And I'm sure you know this too. So, what the way in the trades, and I'm sure it works this way with others, but I'm not going to speak from that because I'm not an expert on that. And I'm not an expert on the acquisition stuff. I've learned a lot because I've talked to a lot of people. I'm not ready to retire. I'm not necessarily ready to sell yet, or maybe never. I've got a son that just started. You mentioned him earlier. He came to work for us in May, which has been great. I've really enjoyed that. But I think he wants to learn the business, and maybe it stays in the family. We don't do anything, but it would be irresponsible of me not to at least look and see what's out there.
100%.
And so, I talking about the different multiples. And the way it works, you've got certain private equity out there that looks for the 3 to 5 to 8 to $10 million company. And they are out there, and that's what they focus on. So they'll bundle those together. Maybe they'll buy a group of them, and then they'll take that and they'll go to the next level because there's those private equities that are looking for the bigger companies or the bigger group because they've got a pot of money to pay for those. So they'll pay a better multiple.
Yep.
And they're the next level private equity, and as you go up and as the companies get bigger, then that's what they do. So.
Yeah, there's a whole like world of this happening. I don't know if you guys see this, but there's like even majors at like Harvard called Entrepreneurship Through Acquisition, ETA, and it's basically just teaching people to like create little search funds. And you're like, all right, I'm going to go get sponsored by a couple investors. I'm going to go out and I'm going to go find a business to buy. That's at like the smallest level, but tons of people are doing this, especially in the trades. And then the play, if you're going that route, is to like essentially like roll them up, and then once you have this packaged thing with maybe 3 to 10 companies that now spits off like 15 to 20 million, now you're multiple flips. And it's basically you just have like arbitrage on the multiple. Super interesting.
And they want to see, is the business you, or is it truly a business? If it's just you, it's a job, and they don't buy jobs, buying businesses. So it makes a big difference. So they want to know if you're not there, does the business still succeed like it's been doing? And so it's up to me. This has been a tough thing for me over the years as we've grown, is that I've got to delegate. I'm not the best delegator. I'm not a micromanager, but I'm not the best delegator. So delegation is something that I've really had to work on. It's been hard. So, you want to do that so that you have people that are good. I have really good people. I have fantastic management group, and really, really fortunate, very blessed to have them. And I let them do what they do. And they come to me when there's issues or problems or they need some advice, and my door's open. So that's the way you work.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I just want to do everything myself, but it's just so not scalable. Like I'm max out.
You can't do everything yourself. You have to. That doesn't mean you have to have a partner. It doesn't mean you have to have, an assistant and all that. I have kind of an assistant, but I don't really even have an assistant. I just, I deal with different people and different things when I need stuff done. So.
Okay, so let's, I'm still on this train of thought of how do we get to 100 million? So you're at 40 to 50 million now. Yeah. You said organic, potentially you buy. Can you expand like geography? Can you add additional services? Can you win bigger contracts? Like what would it take?
So our goal has always been, we want to be the number one contractor in our market. And I'm a realist. We're not there yet. We're close. We're getting up there. We're in the top 5. We may be even the top 3. We're up there. So to get to that next level, we'll have to do bigger projects. We'll have to maybe expand. We are expanding our footprint a little bit. We don't want to do too much of that. I don't know that we would open up another office somewhere, but that's been talked about. We may expand our services. We currently don't do plumbing. Plumbing is not very sexy and everything, but none of this is, but it's really not. Nobody wants to talk about food pipe, But that might be something we might go that way. I think to expand what the services we have right now, there is room. There's room to expand, but it'll take some work. We've been really we've been very deliberate about how we've expanded. We don't want to go out there because there's other contractors, there's other projects, there's things that we could go after, but we're just not there yet, but we're getting close. We're getting close. Got it. So that's what's going to take to get there. We're going to have to we just got to do more. We're going to have to do more. We're hiring people. Like I say, I got a guy coming in tomorrow that's a senior level. He's a senior project manager, which means he would be above some project managers to take kind of a team role. And so we hope that's going to work out because that's what we want to do.
Are you riding any tailwinds of like macro trends? Like right now, there's like data centers getting thrown up everywhere. And there's like tons of businesses that sort of are around the data center ecosystem, like excavation businesses, digging the things, whatever. Like, are you riding any macro trends like that?
We are a little bit. So in South Carolina, there's been a recent trend, and you can even see it around here, is that the medical side, medical office buildings and like small type hospitals are popping up everywhere. We got one here. You go out to Walmart. Y'all don't go to Walmart. You know where Walmart is, and you get off of 123 and you turn left. Well, if you turn right, have you seen all that dirt they're moving right there? That's a medical office facility that's being built.
Wait, what do you mean? Like a hospital?
It's like a mini hospital. It's more like it's bigger urgent care.
Okay.
But it's called an MOB, a medical office building. The MOB is the common terminology in that. And what it is the Prismas and the Novant and the ANMED and all these and Bon Secours and all these have figured out that, okay, for one, they figured out that urgent cares are really good because you get sniffle or whatever, you don't run to the emergency room and maybe you don't have a family doctor, so you get urgent care. Well, I'm sure a lot of people in here have gone to urgent care for little things. Well, the next step above is if you have, they've made these medical office buildings so that it used to be, it's still called an MOB, an office building, but it's more than an office building now. We're doing one in Greenville right now that the first floor has some examination type stuff. The second floor is a surgery suite. So they're actually doing surgery. There's 6 surgery suites. So they're doing outpatient surgery. Yeah. And then the upper floors, they have some patient rooms and then doctor's offices. So it's vertically integrated in a vertical building. It's vertically integrated, and this is the new trend that's happening. They're building one in Powdersville. They're building several in Greenville. They're all popping up all over the place. It's also in the state of South Carolina, we've gotten away from certificate of need, which kept our healthcare building down. Now that's gone away, and these things are coming in left and right. And Novant, which is doing sponsorship here at Clemson, with the athletics and all that, you see their name around. They've come into this market. They're a North Carolina company. They've come into South Carolina because of all this changes. So we've seen that. That's one thing that's healthcare around here. The other thing is we have seen data centers. Now we don't think of South Carolina as a data center area, but there are data centers popping up down on the coast, down in Charleston area, down there. There's some very large data centers. I'm not aware of any really large data centers up here. There might be some, but I'm not aware of them. But I will tell you this, there's a new trend going on because these data centers are just massive power users. They're incredible how much power they use. So now, in order to put these data centers in areas like around here, like maybe Seneca, I didn't say that, did I? But I am looking at one that's in this area.
To buy it?
No, they're building. They might build. Yeah. Looking at it. But it's still a massive amount of megawatts required. This particular one is a 20 to 30 megawatt. Well, the ones that you see at these other places are 10 times that. I mean, they're huge. So these power companies some of these power companies can't supply that. So what you're seeing some smaller data centers popping up in places that they can put them where they can get 10, 15, 20 megawatt. So we are looking at that a little bit. It's not been something that we've looked at a whole lot because it's just not in our market. Yep. But it is starting to pop up. So your question about data centers are hot. I'm sure everybody knows NVIDIA. They announced, good Lord, they're shooting through the moon. Yeah. Our sales are crazy right now. So it's a hot thing. So we think that is going to be something for the future. Honestly, I don't have data center experience. The good thing is, like I said before, where we talked about how when I first got started, I'd knock on doors. Well, when I don't know something, I mean, I know it, but I know people and I know who to call. And so I start calling and I start asking and I start finding people. And then I find a guy that knows about data centers. That's where I am right now with that. So we haven't done a data center yet. We're talking about it. We don't even know if we'll do this. We don't even know if this one will happen. Still in the early stages, but data centers are hot.
Yeah, I'm similar. I go down these rabbit holes where I'll look at something and then I'll basically just like deep dive on it for like probably a few weeks and then just kind of look at like the whole ecosystem around it. There's also a lot of like REITs are holding the data centers as like the ownership, and then a lot of the REITs that own the data centers are publicly traded, and then it's like crazy. There's like an opco, like an operating company that they lease it to. Like all of that stuff is fascinating. And then just to also think about like the macro trend that you can ride. So when you go to like the data center or you get these new, the medical offices, are you going to them directly, or is it like the construction company that you're their guy?
It's a lot of times it's the construction company and their guy. So a lot of times especially when you get into some of these things, so construction, if you want to get into how construction is, I'm not going to bore everybody with construction, but there's different ways of doing construction. Mm-hmm. The traditional way is, somebody goes and wants something built and they produce a set of drawings and then they bid it out to everybody and their brother. I don't live in that world. Sometimes I do, but very little. It's got to be a large project, or it's got to be something that we have a niche or we think we have an advantage on that we can do well on. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's in our backyard. If it's in our backyard, then we might do it. But if it's like a Walmart, we're not doing a Walmart. We don't do Walmarts.
Just like out of principle, or
it's driven by dollar.
Okay, they're just looking for the lowest vendor or lowest company.
So we're not going to be competitive on dropping down the bottom. Yeah. It's just on our market. Multifamily, we're not multifamily guys. We'll get into that a little bit. We'll dabble in some things. We'll do some things like we did do. Burns Hall here. The big high rise. We did all that when they gutted that Burns Hall. We did all the HVAC in there went away. So we get into doing a little bit of that. We did a dorm over at Southern Wesleyan years ago. So we've done that kind of thing. But when you go to market for like a data center, mm-hmm. like these other things, it's usually going to be a team. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a general contractor is going to put together a team with a good mechanical, a good electrical contractor, whoever they feel comfortable with the dirt and all that mm-hmm. kind of stuff. So those are generally team driven. So you get called in and say, hey, we got this project we want you to look at. Mm-hmm. Are you interested in being on our team? And we go after it.
Yeah, I think that's so cool, especially in construction, how it's like, they basically can take you along for the ride. So anything that they win, it's like effectively you're winning as well.
It is. It's a great way to do it. I love the approach because I love a team. Mm-hmm.
It's also the value of relationships too, right? It's like they know that you're reliable. You've done X project before, time and time again, and they know that they can count on you. So I think like the value of the relationship is so important.
It is. It's important, and it's in any business. I mean, people still do business with people.
Yeah.
I don't live in a world that I know my customers. I know the majority of them. I won't say I know all of them that come through our door. We do some projects for people we don't know. We check them out, of course, but we do majority of our work is with repeat customers, and people still do business with people. And so the trust is important. Mm-hmm. It's not all about the bottom dollar. It's always cost. Cost is always a big factor, but it's not the lone factor.
When you're hiring people, what are some red flags that you look for, and what are some things that you do in the interview process to like really figure out who someone is?
I like them to talk about themselves, of course, so you want to know, how they interact with people, because once again, it's all about people. And when you have project managers, they've got to be able to communicate, and they've got to be organized, and they got to, they're, especially when it comes to hiring project managers. I don't do a lot of the field hiring anymore. I used to, so that's a little different. That's a whole different animal, and that's not really what this this audience is going to be interested in. They're going to be looking at more of the college educated management type people that we hire.
Yeah.
So those people, we ask them, certain industry specific questions, of course, see what their knowledge base is and see how they interact. Just like Dabo is with his culture, we're big on culture too. Big on people. If we think somebody comes in and's got just incredibly huge ego, that's probably not a fit for it. We are very much driven to work together, and we do a really good job of that. And it's important because in our industry, there is so much, and I guess with any industry, but you don't want people building little kingdoms within your company. You don't want a project manager who says, okay, this crew over here and these guys over here, those are my guys. They're going to do my projects, and you're not allowed to use those guys on your projects. We don't work like that. We have a staff meeting every Thursday afternoon where we talk about every single project in the company going on. And that list is usually, it could be, there are different stages of a project. They might be at the very end or they might be at the very beginning. And some of them we go through, they're very fast and some of them are very slow. So we like 40 or 50 projects. And we get to a project and somebody says, man, we're behind, or we really need some people. And somebody will say, oh, I got some over here. I'll let you have some of mine. That's important because that's a guy trying to help another guy for the success of the company. We're big in that. And as a result, and because what you do with your company, we compensate people. We have a very good compensation for our people, so they make a very good living. But in about 2 weeks, they all make a really good living because in about 2 weeks we hand out bonuses. So we're big on bonuses, and we're big on sharing. I'm big on sharing. Sharing, if we make money, everybody makes money. And we don't at this stage of the game, and we may change this because other companies do it like this. They measure, they take that project manager and they say, okay, this project manager generated X amount of profit for the company, and he's entitled to X amount of the percentage of what he, and this guy generated less, so he gets less. We don't really do it that way. We do it more of the company made money, so everybody gets a share.
But is it based on percentage of salary or tenure, or like what's the formula?
It is. It's not an exact formula. It's more of an art than it is. But there is some formulation to it. It's based on just what you said. It's based upon the position that they have. So my right hand guy, my vice president, he gets the big chunk because he's responsible. He is vice president of operations, so he's over everybody. Yeah. So he gets a pretty good chunk. And then different project managers, we look at the projects they did during the year, and we look at what they handled. We base it on that. We base it on tenure, and also what their salary is, and we massage it. And so it's not an exact science. Will we get away from that? Probably. We'll need to grow some more. We'll probably. But the problem is that I've always felt, and we've talked about this in our company, is that when you do that, you do get into that kingdom building because they're only looking out for how much profit I can generate. Now, you might say, well, that's a good thing because they're really driven to make more money, they make more profit. It's not always healthy for that to happen because it could be to the detriment of other projects. So we have to look at the overall, and we may go to maybe a hybrid where we look at how much they generated plus how much they're. So we've talked about that.
Cool. I'm going to ask you 2 more questions, then we can open it up to audience questions. So you've been doing this a while. Sounds like you're still just like in the game, which I love. I think a lot of times people, especially younger people, they, chase shiny objects, and it's hard to just like stay in the grind. I think like when you first start a business, you get this like excitement, and then it's sort of like, it falls down, and then you just have this like grind where it's just like not super fun, but you just got to stay at it. But like how have you been able to stay just like super focused, not chase shiny objects, and kind of do this one thing and become great at it over the past 20 years?
Well, I've chased shiny objects before. I don't anymore. My management group said that used to say Martin never saw a project he didn't like. And that was in my younger days, and that's not there anymore. So I'm a little bit more calculated. Yeah, we do. But I still go to work every day. I'm excited to go to work. I still enjoy my work, some days more than others. Customers can be difficult, employees can be difficult. But I think I built a company that is enjoyable to be around. The people that work for me are enjoyable to be around. We generally like each other, genuinely.
That's awesome.
We do a lot of team building. We did axe throwing not long ago. We've done top golf. We've done all kinds of stuff. We go ball games. We do all kinds of stuff. But it's you gotta love what you do. You really do, because you do it for a long time. And if you don't like it, you should do something else. And I admire somebody like yourself, that's been a serial entrepreneur. You like doing that. I like that sort of thing. I dabble in some other things too. I've gotten lately, I like real estate. So I dabble in real estate. I'm involved with a really nice project right now that is personal.
Yeah.
And some other things, and I dabble in that. So I'd like to do other things. I'm big on diversifying things too. So I've got a lot of my network is tied up in my business, but I've also got a lot of network tied up in some other things too. So I think it's
Yeah, I actually don't like the term serial entrepreneur, because I think there's so much value in just staying focused on one thing for like 20 years. Like I'm saying, like now I'm taking this all the way. Like this is a 20-year thing.
That's admirable, because you're still a young person, and you can obviously you've learned a lot from the first two.
Yeah.
That it makes the third.
I also grew up poor, so it was like nice to have money.
Well, I grew up from a very middle income.
Yeah.
I went to school here. My parents were really good to me. My father was an engineer. My mother's an architect. Mm-hmm. They divorced when I was in college. So imagine that. Engineers and architects, like oil and water. Yeah. It's amazing they made it that far, I guess. But I grew up in a family of engineers, so it was just a natural that I was going to be an engineer. Yeah. Hey, I was in high school, and guidance counselor came to me and said, "You didn't sign up for foreign language?" I'm like, "No, I didn't." "Well, you're going to college, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to college. I'm going to be an engineer." She went, "You're going to college? You can take foreign language." I said, "No, I don't." I said, "I'm going to Clemson, and they don't really care in the engineering, and I need to take as much math and science as I can, and I'd sign up for all this."
Yeah.
And just so happened that two of the classes I wanted to take in high school were at the same time, and they were only offered one time, so I had an open spot. So I took French 1 year. Next year, didn't sign up for French 2. Guidance counselor calls me in. "You didn't sign up for French 2. I said, "No." He said, "Well, you need to take French 2 so you can get in college." I said, "No, I don't. I'm going to be an engineer. I'm not going to take foreign language." And I didn't, and here I am. So
that's awesome.
Can't speak a lick of French.
That's awesome. One thing I do want to call out just about, your business and you, like you're so focused on, doing one thing great. Even, you're not just doing HVAC, you're doing commercial HVAC for like these types of, buildings or these types of projects. I think so, I've been talking to a lot of people, and they just say like, go super, super narrow and just nail that and be like the best person at that one thing, very, very specific. So if you guys are looking at like projects, and it's like, oh, we're going to do this like super wide, broad thing. No, like narrow it down. It's going to be for like 18, it's going to be for like freshmen and sophomores who go to the dining hall twice a week during, 2 to 4 p.m. Like go super, super specific. And then you can like build something great for like that cohort of people. I mean, what you've done.
I totally agree. We do fire protection now. And that was something we started just a few years ago. We probably been in fire protection business 8 years now, maybe. One of the guys I hired, this is a good story if we got a second, just real quick. So I was looking to hire a project manager, and I was having a hard time. And I played golf with this guy who was a project manager for a fire sprinkler company. And I liked him, but I didn't know him real well. So I picked up the phone one day, and I said, "Hey, I'd like to have lunch with you." And we didn't know each other real well. And he's like, "Okay." I think he thought I was going to sell him Amway, And I said, "Let's have lunch. I want to talk to you about something. I got something I want to talk about." And so we had lunch, and I said, "Hey, what would you think about coming to work in the mechanical business? I'm looking for a project manager." And he said, "I don't know anything about mechanical." And I said, "I don't care." I said, "I can teach you that." I said, but you know how to be a project manager, which means you know how to manage people and manage projects. That's what I need. I'll teach you the mechanical side. So he's been with me 12 years now. He stayed in that for about 3 to 4 years. And he came into my office one day and he said, hey, Ron, what would you think about starting a fire sprinkler business? And once again, I said, I wouldn't think much of that because I don't know anything about it. He goes, well, we can walk before we run. We'll do small stuff. And I've got some people we can hire and we can do and now that's a nice chunk of our business and it's complementary. Yeah. The other thing is if you're going to be focused, that's great. Stay focused. But every now and then you're going to see something maybe is complementary that was an opportunity. And we saw that. And so we took it.
Awesome. That's so awesome. And one thing I do want to call out, one final thing is just, you find these people and you go after, you ask them, hey, can we get lunch? And you learn from them. And I think I
know my vice president. I got his name from somebody else.
Yeah.
And he worked for another contractor and I picked up the phone and called him cold call and love it. And I said the same thing to him, but I said to the other guy, I said, this is what I do. I'd like to have lunch with you. He actually worked for a general contractor, but he'd been in the mechanical contractor world before. Mm-hmm. And I heard some rumors that he could be talked into going back into the mechanical world. And I picked him up and I had lunch with him. And about 2 weeks later, he accepted my offer. And he's incredible. He's my vice president.
Don't be afraid to reach out to people. Go out cold. What I found too is people want to talk. People are so willing to help and to talk and everything. And I love it. That's awesome. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. Martin Lowery, Thomas McCanapa. Appreciate it. You go. And that's the Share Willow podcast. Okay, now we're going to open it up to Q&A.
I appreciate you guys taking the time to sit down. Let us learn. And what I'm curious about is how you go about making big decisions. Like what you were saying, how you used to accept every cost that came along, but how you had to open your deliberate. When you're making those decisions, would you say your engineering background kind of comes more to the surface? Are you more analytical in the sense? Or I'm curious about your thinking when it comes to taking on different projects.
Okay, so that's a good question. So I didn't go into a lot about my educational background. I am an engineer, but I did get an MBA. So I have a business background as well. So when I look at projects, we look at how it fits into what we do. We look at other factors, and these are important. We look at factors like who's the owner, who's the ultimate end user, who's the engineer that designed it, who's the contractor we're working for, where's the jurisdiction, where is it? Is it in a place that's hard to do work in? We look at all those when we decide, and it's not cut and dried. It's kind of an art. It's not a science. And we look at our load, how much we have on the books. We have what we call a WIP report at all times, which is work in progress. I get that every week. We have a work in progress, so I know where we stand on every single project, what our backlog is, but it's still an art because sometimes, especially during COVID was awful. It was awful for everybody. The construction was horrible because a lot of projects got postponed. So you thought in 20 or 21, you had $20 million worth of backlog, and then it got pushed. It all got pushed off. I know all y'all know what PPP was, the government bailout stuff and all that. We took PPP. A lot of companies did. We could be the poster child for PPP because we kept our people on payroll, kept them paid, had them doing stuff, but we kept our people and we used all that money for what it was intended for. So we're the poster child, and we know what we were doing there. Making decisions is hard. It's hard all the time, and we talk about it. I will tell you this, I very much value the opinion of my people. I'm the ultimate decision maker, but they'll all tell you, I'm not always the smartest person in the world. Most of the time, in the room, most of the time I am, but that's a joke. But I'm not always the smartest person, but I do take their opinions, and they come up with great ideas. I have smart people, so you have to utilize them. But it's a hard thing to determine what you do next. Keeping the pipeline full is very important to contractors. You want to keep your people working, and the best thing is to keep it level, but it doesn't work that way. It has an ebb and flow. So it's hard. It's hard. Cool. Most of you are business majors of some sort, most of you? Okay. All right, so let me speak a little bit about that real quick. If we got a second, if nobody's asking any questions. So I was an engineer. I didn't know the difference between, I didn't know a balance sheet from a P&L. I didn't understand any of that stuff. When I went and got my MBA, that's when I learned it. So it has served me very, very well. So learn the business part of it. Learn about cash flow. Cash flow, it's the most. Cash flow. They always say cash is king. Well, cash flow is king. You got a cash flow business. Cash flow. If you keep it flowing, and you keep a little bit here and there, your business will work out. There's a lot of really profitable businesses out there that go under because they can't cash flow. And you may be profitable, but if you can't keep it rolling, it just doesn't. And in the construction world, that's a challenge. It's a challenge because a lot of times people don't want to pay the bills like when you're thirsty. So there's always that. Plus, there's default risk and all that. There's a lot of risk in construction world. So it's a risky business.
Awesome. Final call for questions.
All right. What about capital? Nobody wants to talk about capital? I mean, you got to have capital to start a business.
Are you guys like into venture capital and stuff? Or are you in with more just like entrepreneurship ideas?
Ron's probably going to talk to you about capital. He probably knows more about capital.
I was going to ask you for some capital.
Okay. Up later. I got $1 or two in there.
So my questions about in the industry and making sure out there's a lot of companies that are kind of underdeveloped when it comes to technology. They use AI and automation. My question is, do you use AI and automation in your business? And if not, do you plan to? And if so, how do you?
I keep saying all these are good questions, but that's a really good question. So AI is starting to creep into our industry, of course, like everybody's business. Ours is probably a little bit slower to change. But what we are seeing is efficiencies of processes, which are going from, and we're dealing with this right now, going from drawings to producing, because we manufacture, we build our own ductwork, we do a lot of that kind of stuff, but also to the point where you don't know what a BIM model, you probably don't know what a BIM model is. Maybe some of you do, but now you model the buildings, and that's only been within the last couple of years. That's gotten to be extremely popular, where the building is modeled 100% on the computer. So they give you certain areas that you're going to have your electrical, certain areas you're going to have your ductwork, above ceiling, you're going to have your fire protection, you're going to have all that. And it's so precise. It's to increase efficiencies, it's to make more usable space in buildings, it's to make things go faster and construction to go faster. We're actually about to hire our first BIM modeler, which is a guy that's just going to sit on a computer screen and see 3D models and all that, and he's going to be drawing all this stuff in there. We haven't had that in-house up to this point. We have on our fire sprinkler side, they do it, but not on our mechanical side. So that technology is really creeping in. When we built our new facility, we built a server room and have all that technology. I mean, I'm an older guy. I'm not the best technology guy. I laugh about it. I tell people all the time, but we're big believers in it. Our people that are out on job sites have tablets. They have all the stuff right there. We use Procore in the field. And those are guys, some of them don't even have high school education, but they're very smart. And they use technology. So we're big. Technology is really, really getting big in our industry. And we feel like that is the way things is going, and that we've got to go with it. That's why we started Procore a few years ago. We try to get ahead of the curve, like having BIM modeling in-house is ahead of the curve. A lot of our competitors don't have that yet. They will because it's the way things are going. But the technology out there, and computers have gotten me faster. The software is so much better. I can remember, I'm an old guy, I can remember when AutoCAD first came out. When I went through engineering, we didn't learn AutoCAD. You know how we did drawings? Yeah, on a drawing board. So now it's incredible. It's incredible where technology is going, and the data centers are helping with all that because the actual computing power out there is just incredible.
Yeah, and I hope if anything, open your eyes that, there's this huge set of customers that you could sell to in construction and the trades that you could, build products for, a certain portion of their business to add a ton of value. Like even Procore has like a marketplace. So you could be an app in the Procore marketplace to then, get to his, field techs, or, if you build like an AI ride along tool to coach his guys in the field to, say the right things, right, on the calls or a checklist.
And Ryan, I think where you're going in this too is that keep your mind open. You guys a lot of you don't know what your career is going to be. Keep your mind open. Construction, oh, that's old school. That's been around a long time. It's not my original construction. It's so different. Things go so much faster. There's so much technology. There's so much of that in there. It's different. And the one thing I like about it, I was a mechanical engineer. I never, ever intended to be sitting at a computer doing design. It bores me to tears. I can't do it. I can do it. I won't do it. I love having the variety that there is in what I do, because there's a lot of variety. Now I'm at the level where there's a lot of variety because I'm dealing with this and dealing with contracts and doing, the bank and the bonding company and all this other kind of stuff. So I deal with a lot of things that are not exactly a lot of fun. But there's a lot in this industry and out there that keep your mind open, because you might find that you get into an industry that you never thought you would while you're here. Working for Meta or NVIDIA or one of these is sexy. I know a lot of people work at BMW and oh man, I work at BMW, and then they go to BMW. They go, that's not as sexy as you think. It's a tough place to work. There's companies like that. So keep your mind open. It's not just your big companies too. It can be your smaller ones like us. I mean, we're not a very big company, but we've got some people that make a really good living and enjoy what they do. And we're big on trying to help people with their career path. We don't want anybody to feel like they're stagnant, and that's a bad feeling. I know I've felt that before, and it's a terrible feeling. So we try to make people's career path something that they can see ahead.
Yeah, like I graduated Clemson, and my first job, I was just a sales rep at a startup selling like leads to contractors, basically. I had no idea about contractors. I wasn't trying to be in selling things to contractors. But then, once you start like touching and like working in a certain field, you can kind of like understand it and then see different opportunities. So like, if anything, hopefully, you saw just like a different opportunity from like a B2B SaaS founder and a construction company owner, or mechanical HVAC company owner. And, at least maybe your mind is just like thinking of, potential other areas. Cause I think a lot of times we all get caught up in sort of like our day-to-day bubbles, and you hear all the hype stuff that's happening right now and like these vibe coding tools and like all this stuff. But like, there's like real big businesses that are like potentially buyers or customers that you can add a lot of value to. And to be frank, it's probably less competition. Everyone's going after all the sexy stuff. So it's like, if you have, this area over here where you're like, all right, and again, you go super niche, like if you get a few customers, sounds like you had a few early customers that like completely changed the trajectory of your business.
I did.
And it's like, you hit a couple of those early wins, it's like your life is changing. So
yeah, I was always a bootstrapper. So I was always, I try to keep it lean and mean. I never was a big spender to go out there and have a glitzy office and all this. It just wasn't the way I was brought up, and it wasn't the way I felt like I needed to build a business. Now, you should come to our office. It's pretty nice. It's a nice office. It's a really nice office. But we earned it, and we built it a few years ago. It's on 385. If you go down 385 between Greenville and you drive past Lawrence, you look over to the right, there's this big building with a big sign that says Thomas Mechanical. So it really lights up big in the night. We think GSP is going to call us anytime to turn our light. The airplanes fly over, but we feel like that brings value, not only just the visibility, but also it brings value to keep people too, because we work in a nice place. It's a nice place to work. It's very comfortable, and it's got a lot of bells and whistles. And so we think that's important, but it's not important when you're getting started. What's important when you're getting started is to generate revenue, get customers, do the right thing, and take care of your customer. And you hear it all the time, but I stress it all the time. do right by your customer because they'll do right by you in the end. You might get on the short end in the beginning, but you'll get on the long end on the backside if you do the right